You're
About 3 minutes till showtime. Let's check and see if D is live. Is D live? I'm going to say yes. Is Twitch twitchy? Is Twitch twitchy? Is YouTube? Is Twitch Is Facebooky? Face is Twit-ery. Is Twit and is Rum Bully. Bully. And is Fox holy? Impeach 'em all comes here for the music. Hello, Black Yoda, co-host in the house. I'll get the work done, and we'll start the panel. Probably be about 40 minutes. I brought a lot of verses today. I know you wanted me to. Because they're kind of repetitive, let's be honest. All right, I think we're on good shape for 60 seconds till go time. "30 seconds. "10 seconds.
Welcome to the 9dNation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
Welcome to the 9dNation. This is episode 55. We have a lot to do, so I have to kind of get right to it. Some idea of the lag. I'll print here when the clock is 12:01. Here. Oh, I did that really well. You'll see it on the video. I said it exactly when. So Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through Genesis chapter 24, verse 27, we've collected up the following tidbits. What are we doing tonight? Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try and read the Bible. So far, we've picked this up. After the water-based reset, remember, no demon half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites, Shemite Abraham moved to Philistine, had Ishmael with an Egyptian, and blessed the world by almost sacrificing Uriah's son, Isaac, meaning son from Urkesh or Ur. Isaac got a wife from the family back in Nahor, Mesopotamia. Impeach them all. Every time I measure the delay on Foxhole, it's 30. You're absolutely right on target. Now, tonight, I have prepared to you possibly a world record. 22 verses, I think it is. Yeah, 22 verses. So I'm going to read from Genesis 24, verse 28 through 49 in English. Let's get that screen going. Genesis 24. Gonna read this whole thing. It's gonna be a world record for the G. Ross Wednesday night show with Black Yoda. All right. Then the girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban, and Laban ran outside to the man at the spring. When he saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and when he heard the words of Rebekah, his sister, saying, "This is what the man said to me," he went to the man, and behold, he was standing by the camels at the spring. And he said, "Come in, blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside, since I have prepared the house and a place for the camels?" So the man entered the house. Then Laban unloaded the camels, and he gave straw and feed to the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. But when food was set before him to eat, he said, "I will not eat until I have told my business." And he said, "Speak on." So he said, "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master so that he has become rich. And he has given him flocks and herds and silver and gold and servants and maids and camels and donkeys. Now, Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master in her old age, and he has given him all that he has. My master made me swear, saying, 'You shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I live, but you shall go to my father's house and to my relatives and take a wife for my son.' I said to my master, 'Suppose the woman does not follow me.' He said to me, 'The Lord before whom I have walked will send his angel with you to make your journey successful. And you will take a wife for my son from my relatives and from my father's house. Then you will be free from my oath. When you come to my relatives, and if they do not give her to you, you will be free from my oath.' So I came today to the spring and said, 'O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, if now you will make my journey on which I go successful, behold, I'm standing by the spring, and may it be that the maiden who comes out to draw, and to whom I say, please let me drink a little water from your jar, and she'll say to me, you drink, and I will draw for your camels also, let her be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son.' Before I had finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder and went down to the spring and drew, and I said to her, please let me drink. She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, drink, and I will water your camels also. So I drank, and she watered the camels also. Then I asked her and said, whose daughter are you? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put the ring in her nose and the bracelets on her wrists, and I bowed low and worshipped the Lord and blessed the Lord and God of my master Abraham, who has guided me in the right way to take the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. So now, if you're going to deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me, and if not, let me know, that I may turn to the right hand or the left. I know I read that kind of fast. We got a lot to get done. Now, I'm going to read all that in my pseudo-Hebrew, pseudo-East Texas boy, know-nothing Hebrew. To get that done, and we will take a quick glance at the chats here in a second, but first, let me get that started. We need this. Okay, we're going to go from 28 I'm going to read 28 through 32, and then we'll take a little breather. But first, a check on the chats. Oh, yeah, just one. Rocking it. Okay, just one. Yeah. I hung for a few with Zoe, had to lay back down. Brother, we're praying for you. Let me pray real quick. I won't go too deep into anything, but, you know, you can tell from your chat that you need a little bit of rest. Lord God Almighty, please, let me pause this music. It's a little distracting. Please be with the Texan and just help him, you know, rest well and get to where he's feeling real good real soon. We know you got him in good hands. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Stevus is in the house. Just One's in the house. And Peach Mall's in the house. The Texan's in the house. Black Yoda's in the house. Sinezer's in the house. Holy Moly's in the house. All right. All right. All right, all right, all right. I keep saying all right. Vataratz Hanaara Vataged Levet Ima Karavarim Haele. Ule Rivka Ach Ushemo Lavan Vayaratz Lavan Al Haish Hachutza Al Ha'ayin. Vahi Kirut et Hanazem Vit Hatsimidem Al Yede Achoto Ocheshemel et Divre Rivka. Is that Rebecca? I might have mispronounced that. Achoto Lemorko Diber Ele Haish Vayavo El Haish Vehine Omed Al Hagamelim Al Ha'ayin. Vayemerbo Veruch Ahaya Lama Ta'amod Bachus Va'anochi Beneti Habayit Umakom Lagemeleim. Vayavo Haish Habaita Vepatach Hagamelim Vayitin Teven Umispo Lagamelim Umeim Lirchotz Ragla Veragle. I'm not rolling my R's enough, am I? Ha'anashim Asherito. All right. Verse 33 through 37. Then we'll take a quick break and look at the chat. Vayusam lefano le'echol vayomer lo echal ad im dibarti devare vayomer daber. Vayomer eved Avraham anochi ahaya barach et Adoni meod vayigdal vayitin lo tzon ovakar vachesev vesahav vaavadim ushefachot ugemalim vachamorim morim veteled Sarah eshet Adoni ven ladoni achare ziknata vayitin lo et kal asher lo vayishbini Adoni lemor lo tika Isha livni mibenot hakaani asher anochi yoshev be'arzo. I don't know if I'm supposed to roll that R. I have to get used to more about that. 38 through 43. Then we'll take a quick look at the chat. Looking at the chat. Let me check out over at Rumble. It's kind of quiet. That's good. I mean, either way. All right. A little bit more Hebrew, and then we'll break it down. All right, where's my thingo deal? Thingadilly Bob. Where are we at now? We're on 38. Im lo el bet avi telech ve'el mishpachti velachta ishev, or isha livni, vayomar el adoni ule lo telech haisha achare, vayomer ele achaya asher hithalachti lefanao yishla malacho. Sorry. Itach vahitzliach darkecha welakachta isha livni mishpachti umibet avi az tinake ma'alati ki atavo el mishpachti ve'im lo yitenu lach vayeta naki me'alati vayavo hayom el hayin El Hayin Vayomar Ahaya Elohe Adoni Avraham Im Yeshcha Na Matzliach Darker Asher Anochi Holech Eleha Hine Anochi Netzzav Ala in Hamayim Vehaya Ha'alma Ahayotzet Lishov Ve'amarti Eleha Hashkeni Na Meat Mayim Mikadech. All right. Mikadech. Okay, 40. I lost 44. 44 would be Uramre Ali Math Shtium Lagamalek Ashav Ueashe Asherekich Iwe Libne Adoni. All right. Somehow I lost verse 44. I don't know how I did that. All right. 45 through 48. And then we'll read one more verse after that. Ani terem akale ladaber el libi vehine reevka yotzet vechara al shishma vatered haena fatishav vaomar alehe hashkini na Vatemaher vatored kada mealaheha vatomer shete vegam gamelecha ashke vayeshet vegam hagamalim hishkata va eshal ota vayomar bat mi al vatomer bat betuel bin hachor asher yaleda lo milka vasim hanazem el apa vahatsemedim al yadeha Ve'akod vayeshtacha we ahaya vavarech et ahaya alohe edoni Avraham asher hinchani berech emet lakachat. Et bat achi adoni livno. One more verse. Beata im yeshchim osim chesed ve'emet et adoni hagidu livim lo hagidu li Vipne al Yamim o al Semo. Okay. Hey, guess what? Wrong button. I just can't figure out how to push the right buttons. We have in the chat the one, the only, the original, the underscore, classical chick. What is classical chick telling us? Avocado King. Love it. Left the chick party, a.k.a. W7. Hopped in to be lulled with the fabulous recitations. Fair to middling, not bad at the Texan. Mine's hanging low and to the right, says the Texan. Stevus, we hanging. 3, okay, so yeah, this is what I was praying for earlier. 3 infected teeth in the Texan's lower left jaw. It's not even on the pain chart, is what we're hearing. Ugh. All right. Well, I'll keep doing my job over here, the Texan. Rough deal. But we're with you. So, what we're going to do, like we do every week, Pinky, try and take over the world. We're going to run through and break these down and then bring in discussion panel with co-host Black Yoda, who's in the house. Okay. Verse 28. There are no words that we've not seen in some form or another already before in prior chapters. So we can just summarize this. She ran home and told Ma. Right? Already read it in English. Already read it in Hebrew. So we're not going to belabor it. We're just going to go. We got 22 of these to do. So 1 down, 21 to go. They won't all be that quick. There's same here. No words that we need to study because we've seen them all before. Rebekah's brother Laban ran out to the servant at the well. Excellent. Let's go to verse 30. Same here. When he saw the rings and bracelets on his sister's hands and heard what Rebekah said, the servant said, he went, and when he heard what Rebekah said, the servant said, he went and hung out by the servant's camels. So I'm going to update our story so far. Isaac got a wife, Rebekah, from the family back in Nahor, Mesopotamia. Her brother Laban was intrigued by the jewelry they gave her. Okay. Just a little update. And he said, "Come in, Ahiah blessed. Why are you out there when I made the house ready for you and the camels?" That's kind of a funny little conversational piece right there. Like, he's like, "What are you doing out there?" I mean, it's even in the language, right? It's not colloquial only to us. They talked like that back then. "What are you doing out there? It's so comfy in here." Well, because you never invited him in yet. It's this weird passive-aggressive. He didn't say, "Hey, please come in." He goes, "What are you doing out there for?" I just think it's interesting that it's kind of in the story that way. People are people, you know? So her brother Laban saw the bling as indicating Ahiah blessings. Change this to saw in my notes. That was verse 31. Let's do verse 32. They won't all be this quick. Do you think, Jelly Bean? Yeah, Friday's going to be a good day, an important day. The pain will be extracted along with the teeth causing the pain. Well, I guess, or at least parts of the teeth, root canal or something, maybe the whole thing, I don't know. Whatever they say, right? It says they're getting taken out, right? 32. The servant went to the house and unloaded the camels, and Laban gave straw and feed to the water for the servant and his men's feet. Feet's getting washed. Classic. Now, this verse has a word we've not seen before. Yasam. That's be put or set. I say we've not seen it before. There's only 2 examples in the entire Old Testament, or the Law and Prophets. But it does come from a word, sum, which we have seen widely used, and it has pretty much the same meaning. So if you agree that yasam could come believably from some, then this means to be put or set. So they brought out a meal, and he said he has to first say why he's there. And they were like, "Speak up, Johnny." Am I going too fast? I don't think so. "I work for Abraham," he starts off. Verse 35. No new words. We've seen them all before. "Ahiah has greatly blessed Abraham, who has become great, and he's given him flocks and herds and silver and gold and butlers and winches and camels and donkeys." So now in our story so far, we could add the phrase, we already knew this, but I'm going to put it in because it's getting hit again. Abraham got rich, and Isaac got a wife, Rebekah, from the family back in Nahor. All right, let's look at the next verse. It's going to get a little slower here in a second because we got words to go through. Zikna, old age. 6 examples in the Law and Prophets, the Old Testament. It's a word for graybeard, basically. It's not a lot of usages. We mentioned that it was only 6. But StudyLight.org shows the roots as a long beard is what they're saying. So, I'm saying graybeard. So his wife Sarah bore him a son late in life, in her graybeard years. She didn't have a beard, but... and Isaac is set to inherit it all very soon. Cha-ching! So Abraham got rich, and Isaac, set to inherit the estate, got a wife Rebekah from the family back home. Verse 37. We're making really good time. Warm water held the mouth next to the abscess. Relieve the pressure. Thank you. Yep. Good tips from s2e56. How's Rumble doing? Kind of quiet? It's all right. It's all good. All right. Just rounding around, checking out the chat. Let me check the lurker quotient a little bit. Sometimes it's good to know. Oh, man, serious lurkage. Love you, lurkers. Well, lurkers, welcome. All right. I say serious. Serious for a Wednesday night. So verse 37. He made me swear to not get a wife for his son from the Canaanites where he lives. So he's here to sell a sales pitch. Hey, come be a foreigner. The local ladies will talk about you behind your back all the time. We don't like them. Also, the dudes from that went there can't stand them. Like, essentially, that's his sales pitch. Like, people like you go to places like that and won't pick a wife from there. So why don't you come live there? I mean, it's a little awkward, isn't it? Or is there another thing going on? Be too creepy, but anyway. So there's no words we need to study here. We've seen them all in prior weeks. He made me swear to not get a wife for his son from the Canaanites where he lives. Oh, I did that one already. Sorry. But to get a wife from my father's house and his people for my son. So Abraham got rich, and Isaac, set to inherit the estate, got a wife Rebekah from the family back home in Nahor, as opposed to the new promised land of Canaan. Abraham seems a bit ahead of the eventual no Canaan ladies rule. Like, it hasn't been written in the text yet, but he seems to know in advance, is he just got a good gut feeling? He often, if you remember back to when he rescued Lot, what was it he was doing? He was like, he wouldn't go parlay with the king of Sodom. He's like, nope, not going to have anything to do with you. But we know from the text that God hid his plans for Sodom. So how did Abraham know? He seems to know in advance some key behaviors and things to do. It's really interesting. Verse 39, I said to Abraham, what if she won't follow? Verse 40, Abraham told me, Ahiah, who I walked before, will send his angel with you and prosper your way, and you'll get a wife for my son from my family and the house of my father. All right. Verse 41. We need to look at two new words here. Nagiyi, that's blameless. There's 43 examples in the Old Testament, and it can mean unobligated. StudyLight.org says it's like an innocent baby kind of thing. It's actually got a strong breastfeeding connotation, so like an innocent suckling. Allah, that's an oath. 36 examples in the Old Testament. It can be a curse or an oath. It's a completely different sound than the word we've seen before for oath. The sentence before. It's a whole different word. So it's two different words for oath. So if the woman won't follow you, you'll be released from my oath. Just don't take my son back there. So maybe they're just trying to make the point clear by using multiple words. I don't know. Verse 42. Before that, real quick, take note. By him telling them that, it does remove the pressure on the sales pitch. Not that they would care that much, But, like, you'd at least go, oh, man, we're doing this guy. He's stuck in a bad position. We're not going to send you this daughter. Sorry. But now, he's like, no, I'm good either way. But is he? Like, if he goes back and he's like, nah, I couldn't do it, Abraham. Like, it would be a little awkward, right? Anyway, verse 42. Today I got to the well, and I said, Ahiah, God of Master Abraham, if you will, please prosper my travel plan here. So our story so far, I'm going to add one phrase. After the water-based reset, remember, no demon half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites, Shemite Abraham moved to Philistine, had Ishmael with an Egyptian, and blessed the world by almost sacrificing his son Isaac, a pureblood. Abraham got rich, and Isaac, set to inherit the estate, got a wife, Rebekah, amazingly enough, from the family back in Nahor, as opposed to the new promised land of Canaan. Because what are the odds? He even says, this was amazing. Verse 43, we need one new word that we got to look at here. Alma. This is a young woman or a virgin. There's 7 examples in the Old Testament. Betula is usually virgin. Alma is usually maiden. She's referred to as both in this chapter. They can stand in for each other, but usually Betula is virgin and Alma is maiden. This comes in important in when you're founding a Catholic church and you have to prove the virgin birth. So keep that in mind. In about 78 years, when we finally get to the New Testament, we'll need that. So check it. I was standing by the water well, and the young lady came out to draw water, and I'm like, yo, give me a drink, please, from your little jar. A little bit from your jar. "44. So he's still talking to the Lord. And she'll say to me, you drink, I'll draw water for your camels also. Let her be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son. 44. And she's like, yeah, I'll get water for you and your camels. If that happens, could that be the woman Ahiah has appointed for my master's son? So Abraham got rich, and Isaac, set to inherit the estate, got a wife, Rebekah, amazingly enough, from the family back in Nahor, by telling them his God thing trick. So this sells them. They're like, whoa, we have to do it now. Verse 45. She quickly let down the jar and said, drink also, let your camels. I'll give them the water, and she did. Verse 47. No. Where's 46? Oh, that was... Did I read 45? Before he had finished speaking in his heart, behold, Rebekah coming out with her jar on her shoulder and went down to the well and drew water. And I said, let me have a drink, please. And she made haste, like I said a minute ago. Verse 47. We need sha'al. That's to ask or inquire. There's 173 examples in the Old Testament. It can mean borrow or request. It has a feeling of to seek. So I asked who her parents were, and she said Bethuel and Milcah, and granddad is Nahor. So I put a nose ring and bracelets on her. So now we see it is a nose ring. Didn't know that before. Could have meant ring or nose ring, but now he puts it on. How easy it to just stick a nose ring on a lady. And if you look at the word sum, here, let's look at it. This va'asim, which comes from sum, that's like a real active word. It's like a yoink and a set. Like, pop. He pops it on there like, zing-a-dank. How do you do that? I guess she already had a piercing. Did he just slap it in? I mean, nose rings aren't easy to... So Isaac got a wife, Rebekah, amazingly enough, from the family back in Nahor, by telling them his God trick thing plus some bling. Brought some bling to the mix. Putting that back in the summary. All right, verse 48. We're getting close to the end, and it's 11:30. We're making really good time. Oh, no, aren't I going all the way to... Oh, yeah, I'm almost done. Did I skip some stuff? I don't think I did. So I bowed my head and worshipped Ahiah and blessed him, God of Master Abraham. God, let me in the true way to get a daughter. Lead me in the true way to get a daughter of my master's brother for his son. That was verse 48. Verse 49. Last one. Oh. It means or. There's 321 examples, and it is straightforward. StudyLight.org points out it has a connotation of a preference or a choice. So he says, so now please be kind and true to my master and tell me, and if not, tell me so I can wander off on my way looking for another solution from the available choices. So let me conclude with our story so far. From Genesis chapter 1 to Genesis chapter 24, verse 49, we have learned, after the water-based reset, remember, no demon, half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among Japhethites, Shemite Abraham moved to Philistine, had Ishmael with an Egyptian, and blessed the world by almost sacrificing pure-blood son Isaac. Abraham got rich, and Isaac, set to inherit the estate, got a wife, Rebekah, amazingly enough from the family back home in Nahor. The servant got her by telling them his God thing trick, plus showed some bling. She's from Nahor as opposed to the new promised land of Canaan. All right. Part 1 is done. Part 2, the commentary and discussion. Let's see. Jitsi. Let me get a Jitsi link generated. Here's going to be the Jitsi link. Wolf336 is in the house with some really good sticker. There's the link. What does the nose ring mean? Right, like owned. You are owned. Moses met his wife at the well. Just saying. That's a good point. I don't know if I remembered that. Gonna turn off my camera. Otherwise, it won't work in the thingy deal. Gonna turn off the music. Gonna go on in. All right. Now we're just waiting for Black Yoda and guests. And I have a diet soda. Tasty. Black Yoda. Greetings.
What's up, man?
So much.
Let me try to... I didn't want to put my phone over here because you might hear the fan. It's warm out here. So I didn't want to put my phone over here because you might hear the fan, but it's warm out here. Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can... There's not a lot of slack in the cord. Now, it's summertime now, so, it's a lot warmer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you still hear it or no?
No, it sounds good.
Okay. Well, I sent you a link this morning.
Yes.
Did you get a chance to watch that?
No. Working all day. Living hell. Sorry.
Well, oddly enough, it kind of touches with what you just read.
Nice. That's probably why you sent it.
So the part where Abraham is specific about, I don't want you getting one of them Canaanite chicks for my son.
Right.
Well, what this link was talking about, you know, how we've talked about serpent bloodline in the past and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So they're talking about Nephilim. They're talking about giants. And it takes them a good 20 minutes to even kind of get to the point.
Right.
And they were talking about how giants used to be huge, you know, Nephilim and whatnot, you know, way in the back when it comes to time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But over the generations, they kept breeding with humans. And they pretty much shrunk in stature. No more 6 fingers and toes, and
Mm-hmm.
no more 2 rows of teeth, things of that nature, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he was trying to explain how they're still around. They look like us, but they're not us.
Mm.
And they've gotten into positions of power. And just like Lucifer and the devil and whatnot, they know they're related to that bloodline and they can't stand us. And they were talking about how that's why you see so much nefarious shit in the world, you know, because of them. They flat out don't like us. They think that if they can get rid of us, they can like get rid of God.
Ooh, interesting.
And that's why they go after the kids, because their little God spark is closer to God and more pure,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But the interesting thing was they were talking about the Cain line, Canaanites. And this is what I wanted to ask Thaggy and Duppy, because he was claiming that the Canaanites became the Persians. And I don't know how true that is. But it made me wonder to myself if that's why Abraham was so specific about the servant not getting a chick from the Canaanites, because they would have been that serpent line. He didn't want to have grandkids with that serpent shit.
It's a really good point. And that answers kind of what, like you said, I was like sitting there going, he hasn't been told yet, but he somehow knows.
Well, I'm pretty certain he knew where his brother and stuff was at.
Yeah, exactly.
He just might not have never been there.
Well, he knew he came from Nahor, which is where he sent them back to, you know, to get the wife.
Hmm.
But yeah, he didn't want to be hooking up with the locals.
Well, I guess I never really thought about this, but why did he send the servant? Why didn't he just go himself?
Bad hip. No, I don't really know.
I mean,
yeah.
It's his people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, I wonder if they would like try to keep him there, you know?
I honestly don't know. I mean, Sarah did just die. We don't know how long ago she died.
Right.
You know? But doesn't he get remarried?
Yes. We haven't got to that part yet, but you're absolutely right. Which means he has kids with the new wife, so he has enough energy to go traipsing up north again.
As old as he is, how in the hell does he have?
I thought we agreed.
Okay.
Speaking of P-Thaggy, he's in the chat.
Okay. I hope he slides in because this, what you went over tonight, that doesn't really give us any juicy nuggets.
No, it's like a repeat of last week, and I went 22 verses. I jammed through that stuff.
Yeah, you did. You did. But yeah, when you get a chance, check out that link. It's
For sure.
It's about 50 minutes or so long.
Nice.
And I think, do you know who SGT Report is?
Absolutely.
It was on his podcast.
I watch a lot of SGT.
You know what? He does some good interviews, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't necessarily agree with everything this guy was talking about, but he's like a researcher, wrote a book, something like that.
Nice.
But it made me curious though, because you had Nephilim before the flood, but then you still had them afterwards. You know?
Yeah.
You know, they talk about these underground cities and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God knows how they got away from that.
No, I think they're still living there, probably, right?
I've heard so many stories.
I think they're still there. They show us in the movies, like they show like giant entrances to like NORAD and under mountain bases and stuff. They make sure we know.
Movies like Journey to the Center of the Earth, stuff like that. Yeah.
I have to thank Commander Sloan for the can.
I saw the Texans' comments about that abscess.
Yep.
If it's that bad, they're not going to be able to extract. They're going to have to lance it to drain that pus out.
Yeah. And then will they extract in the same sitting?
Nope.
So 2 rounds.
Yeah, that pus has to come out before they can, unless he goes to an oral surgeon.
Oh, right.
And I don't even know if they can.
No, because when you have that much pus in there, they can't numb you up.
Right.
I mean, they can knock you out with that gas, but I don't know if that works.
That's not enough, I don't think. You need the Novocaine. Ugh. Did you see the Texans comment saying, "Y'all ready for the fake alien invasion the MSN has been setting us up for?"
Actually, did they make a comment about that? I can't remember if I'm mixing that particular podcast up with another one.
Oh, they might have.
But it was somebody talking about how the Fallen, they're going to use this fake alien nonsense, but it's really going to be the Fallen.
Right.
Me personally, I don't believe in aliens.
Same here. Well, when we see them, it's going to be the people that have been staying hiding that are not humans, like you just said.
Yeah.
It's the Fallens.
And I know about Project, what is it, Bluebeam?
Mm-hmm.
With the holographs.
Right.
So I'll say this much: it's about to get interesting. Because these people are desperate to maintain their control. But just a few years ago, if you were to try to have a conversation with me about Nephilim and stuff like that, I would have just started laughing at you.
Right.
I mean, I get that it's in the Bible, but some of that stuff I always thought was mythology.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen some sites where, unless those bones were fake, I remember one picture, the skull was bigger than the archaeologist.
Dang.
Then I've heard stories about the Smithsonian gathering up a lot of bones and just dropping them off in the ocean.
Oh, man. Yeah, I believe it. And then they give us the fake dinosaur bones.
Yeah.
Bastards.
I think it was a basketball player on one of those night shows. And he was talking about how he didn't believe in dinosaurs. So the night show host and the basketball player went to a museum. And the curator was talking about how, yeah, the dinosaur bones are fake because if we use real bones, it'd be too heavy to have on display.
That makes no sense.
Like, because the material that they use is lighter than calcified.
Oh, because it's calcified. All right, I could see that.
Or fossilized, I mean.
Yeah. All right. I can see that. I still think they're lying.
No, I do too.
Yeah, but that's a reasonable argument.
And I think all of that has to do with the big push with what's his face for evolution versus, creation.
Duppy has discovered some fake dinosaur bones buried deep in the earth.
Is he being serious or is he being funny?
Well, you can never tell with Duppy. He says, yeah, I've found some fake dinosaur bones.
You gotta tell him about this. Or no.
Maybe later. The other day I was walking my dog and I come back and Bernie's all creeped out.
Ooh.
And I'm like, what's wrong with you? One of those palmetto bugs flew into the garage, hit her right in the forehead.
Oh, man. Did you have to, wash your forehead for, 10 minutes?
No, she probably did the boogaloo in her seat for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Man, I hate those things.
I haven't seen any tonight.
Good. Thaggy's wondering, did you see Charlton Heston's History is a Lie? Was that the one you were watching? Probably not, right?
That's got to be pretty old. Isn't he dead?
Yeah,
When did he pass?
Let's look it up. Heston. 2008.
Ow.
How old was he?
Uh,
He played Moses, right?
he did. Yeah, he was born in 23. So what's that like? 77 plus 8, so 85.
Like 90 something.
Yeah. Yeah, that dude went long. I have two questions about today's passage.
What's
if
that?
we get a chance. So I forgot to mention this. I thought I wrote this down, and I don't think I mentioned this. He kind of put out that, and we talked about this last week. He put out that test. He's like, whoever says, yeah, I'll give you some water and for your camels, that's going to be the one, right? We talked about that.
Right.
But he really specifically says in one of the verses that we got to tonight, he goes, before I had even finished secretly thinking it to myself, she pops out. and this is going to be a slight stretch, but I don't think it's a complete stretch. Was he busy coming up with a test and some hotness comes out and he goes, I'm going to water down the test a little. Like he kind of wanted her to win. You know, all he really did was just to ask what probably 50% of the people would have been polite enough to say, yeah, and I'll give you some water to your camels too. It's just a theory.
I mean, I get your question,
Mm-hmm.
but I've had stuff like that happen to me in my life.
Right.
Like I'll be thinking about a thing. It might not happen immediately like it did with that, but I might run into, what I was thinking about like later that day, the next day, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't even buy my own theory as I say it, but I was just pondering it, you know? Like, did he kind of go easy? Once he saw her, he's like, I got to rig this.
Well,
I don't think so, but...
She kind of offered.
Yeah.
As he saw her. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Because last week it tells you this is around the time that they start collecting water.
Right.
Probably because they're going to be cooking soon, or who knows.
Yeah, and you don't want to get your water in the dead middle of the day. It's too hot.
Yeah. Oh, good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Or at least try to get it early in the morning. You know.
So Thaggy says that in that documentary they had giants with double-rowed teeth and dumping their bones in the ocean. From 1970s documentary.
What was the name of it?
History is a Lie, or here, that's a guess. Let's see what it was. Heston documentary history lie.
I'll look it up later. Because I kind of ran out of nerd shit to look up throughout the day. I've been doing that all day.
Dang. How do you run out of nerd shit? It has been kind of slow news, right? We're so used to.
Well, the news that is out there, I just consider. I know they're messing with us. Like those wildfires in Canada, that wasn't natural. You know what I mean?
Right. I agree.
And so, and then what other political stuff? They're dicking around with Trump, just harassing the shit out of that man. I hope he sues all of them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So he got his, like, what's that project manager, or like a court? It was called like a special agent of the court to like manage things. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about Trump?
Yeah, like he wanted for the document case, he was asking for this like rare position where it's like a person that like helps manage certain facts or something. Like they're like almost like an arbitrator or something.
Well, because they have so many cases stacked, they got like 5 or 6 cases stacked against them right now.
Yeah.
But the federal one takes precedent.
Sure. That's like 37 felonies or something like that.
And it's my understanding, if he can stall that one out and get reelected, that puts all of them on hold until after he's done being president again. And by then, nobody's even going to care.
Right. So have you heard Sloan's theory that we have to see them steal another election to wake more people up?
Dude, I ain't going through that shit again. I'll go down to the polls myself.
Right.
At least represent Arizona. I'm not going through this shit for another 4 years.
Fair enough.
I think a lot of us, if they stole another one, bro, I think we're snapping.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. I hope we stand up.
Because think about what they're doing to the food supply.
Yep.
On top of that, you got Bill Gates messing with that appeal. That's the name of the fruit that the produce that they're trying to do with that coating.
Man, they just can't stop.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, they're not like us. They're not They're not up, bro. Nah, they're little mini versions of Nephilim.
Right.
Until you or somebody else can convince me different.
No,
Do
you Yoda, you're talking my model of the world. Like I that if you go back to the Duppy files, what I like about Duppy's approach is he doesn't go into the woo because you don't need to make his case. But I'm always sitting there going, this is the reptilians.
Yeah. Actually, I wouldn't mind meeting one.
Oh, their eyes would blink sideways.
Just don't look at them.
Right. So they have a if they're space alien enough, they have like this plate technology where if they kind of touch it on their stomach, it can like put a force field out on you or something like that.
Oh, I don't think I've heard about that one.
I keep hearing about it from Linda McAllister. She talks to the super soldiers a lot.
Dude, have you seen the baby hybrids?
Only the ones that, yeah.
All right, so I was watching something, and they had this baby hybrid that was born.
Yep.
Because sometimes they do to get down with like a regular person.
Right.
Doctors know that this is a thing, and they try to blame it on some rare ass disease.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they try to sweep it under the rug with the Cocoa Puffs, bro. With the crunch berries. That's what I call it.
Nice callback.
Yeah. But dude, there's a lot of weird stuff out there, and it's only gonna get weirder. The Euphrates is drying up.
Yep. With big caves underneath.
The Bible talks about after 1,000 years, Lucifer or Satan or one of the two is supposed to be like set free.
Yep.
And if he's been at the bottom of that pit for 1,000 years, bro, he ain't gonna be happy when he gets out.
No, he's gonna be out with a purpose.
But I'm at a point where I'm like, fuck it, bring it.
Just one earlier said, "Fear not, Jesus is with us."
I mean, the most they can do is kill me once and just send me back to the Creator.
That's right. That's an excellent point. That's a really excellent point. I like, you said that a couple weeks ago. You just pointed out, I forgot exactly what we were talking about, but you said, look, if when you die, you're going to go to heaven, and then you were using some logic based on that. And I liked that because a lot of people forget that part. I forget it sometimes.
Dude, like I know murdering somebody is wrong, but if their worst case scenario is you get to go back to God, how wrong is it?
Right.
If I was to do that to somebody right now, I just shortcutted your trip, bro.
Now, the Texan is coming in the chat, and this hit my mind when you said what you said a minute ago. Can you see the chat from where you're at?
I didn't bring my laptop out.
Okay, let me read it to you. I done spoke to a demon once, and I never want to again. Be careful what you ask for.
I've heard stories about this. There's a young lady that I saw on Facebook. She was talking about shadow people and how the house that she grew up in as a kid had them.
Right.
And how like when you talk to somebody, you could tell they're not bullshitting you.
Right.
And she had a friend that overdosed on I think she said meth. I think it had fentanyl in it or something. And the drug that she would do was like pills and heroin and shit like that.
Yep.
And she was talking about how her friend that had passed could see the shadow people too. I think I saw one back when I was, how old was I? think I was like 22 or 23. Now, at the time, it scared the shit out of me. But now I don't know if it was just like, because even the next day, I was like, did I actually see what I saw?
Isn't
Was
that
that just
interesting?
like, all right, so I had just started doing my own carpet installation, contracting for myself, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the girlfriend I had at the time, I had just broken up with her, and her two little boys went to the school that was around the corner from us out in Chandler. And so I was like, look, I'll just go crash with my father. And he had a spare bedroom, but there wasn't a bed in there. There was a couch.
Okay.
And I'm laying on the couch thinking about all this shit, you know, breaking up with her and, trying to contract for myself. And I look over and it literally looked like a person was sitting on the arm of the couch, but with his feet up. So the knees, like the feet are on the arm too, like a gargoyle. You know what I mean? It didn't look like a gargoyle. It had the shape of a body.
Right, but it had that posture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's already dark in the room. So what I thought I saw was darker than the darkness of the room. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Scared the shit out of me. And then now I'm looking intently and it wasn't there anymore. So I'm thinking to myself, because I was already laying down on the couch. I just happened to roll over, so it wasn't like it was my shadow that I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm horizontal. This was vertical. But because I don't see anything, I'm thinking to myself, was that just a like light play or something?
Right.
Like to this day, I still don't know. But then over the years, when I would hear people talk about shadow people, that will pop in my head, And then you hear stories about people being possessed by demons and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, I was to the point where I was even wondering, and this was way back then. I wasn't even a truther back then. You know what I'm saying? I was just a regular ass, you know, American doing American shit. You know what I mean? And before I fell back asleep, I was actually wondering if that might have came out of me.
Interesting. I get
You
that.
know?
Yep.
Though it was just a weird experience. So
I've kind of started to think that probably their natural state is two-dimensional, like flat. They can be contoured around like a shadow, but that's because they're two-dimensional, sort of. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it just seems to fit.
well, how would they be able to survive in our dimension?
Well, I think when they get a hold of us and like possess a human, they get to kind of fill out the human.
Oh, got you.
Or at least drive the human. Or partially drive the human.
And back then, I didn't drink. The only time I drank back then was like on holidays or like New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Like a birthday or birthday party. And even then, I didn't like to drink. I might have like a beer or two. I was a late bloomer when it came to drinking beer.
I waited till I was 16 before I started drinking.
Dude, I didn't really start drinking until I was like 28, 30.
Dang, that is late.
I mean, but like I said, I would have, drinks, on holiday or special occasions. You know what I mean?
Well, have you made up for lost time at least?
If I haven't, I've been damn close.
Uh,
Shit.
something you said also I really liked because I've wondered this also. I don't know if we generate them, but if we have some bad ideas, right, and let's say we're not protected by the blood or something like that, they can come in maybe from another dimension like hell into us, but then they can leave us and go out into the world. Is that kind of what you were thinking earlier when you said something might have come from you?
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Like,
a dark thing to think about.
some of the things that I've seen, now that I'm more, open to those
Yeah.
kind of thoughts.
Yeah.
If you're in a bad headspace,
Yeah.
you can attract negative shit like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I agree
And
with that.
and that apartment that my father lived in back then, it was only 4 units. Old.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been a ghost for all I know.
You know those ones that are called, I can't remember the name. I think they're called like repeaters or something like that, where it's like the ghost will just like walk down a street and then it'll walk down the same street later.
I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, I don't know if it's called repeater, but it's got some name like that. I know a guy lives in Nebraska and he's like a level headed dude. You never, like, you were talking about earlier, those people that just talk and they're not making it up.
Yeah, yeah.
This is just like a regular dude. And we were just talking about stuff and he's like, yeah, there's one of my family's houses, like they had a farm and some other thing. They're pretty sure there's like some kind of murder happened because like just dressed in old timey clothes. It was either one or two people would just walk kind of and then just disappear like out in front of the house.
There's a place back, I want to say back east somewhere. I just saw this like a month or two ago. But the area is so haunted. They will trespass you if they find you there. And for the life of me, I can't remember where this was at. There was a guy that wanted to build a house for his wife. They relocated to this area. And there was other people that lived in the area, but people started coming up missing. Where did I see this? I'm not going to be able to remember.
So we're having a drink off in the chat. I think Duppy's got the record. He started at 5.
Oh.
The Texan was having whiskey with his dad, listening to Waylon and Willie by age 8.
I don't blame him. If he's got an abscess like that, maybe it'll help, neutralize some of the pain.
Mm-hmm. Well, he said, so you guys were talking about, he's pointing out they're giving him antibiotics to reduce the swelling for the purposes of what you guys were talking about earlier.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they're pretty sure they're going to be able to operate on Friday.
Yeah, but if his eye is swollen because of it, God, man.
Yeah. It's hopefully the swelling's coming down.
He could always try to lance it himself.
Yeah, you have to probably get almost a half-inch deep, right? Pretty
All
deep.
Right, now I got to get graphic.
All right, do it.
This is going to be gross.
All right.
So, about, oh man, when was this? Back in like 2008. Yeah, I think that's about right. Well, I had a root canal, and couple years ago, I was still at Honeywell, and that same tooth started to abscess, and it swole up. You know what I mean? And because of the infection, it's the pressure of it, that infection growing, that makes it hurt.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But because I had already had the root canal done, there wasn't a nerve in there, so the uncomfortable feeling that I was feeling was just the pressure of all of that, you know. And so one night, I'm just like, man, I cannot take this shit. And so I kept going in the bathroom, you know, opening my mouth, looking in the mirror, and I noticed this spot way in the back. And it looked like it was just getting weaker and weaker because of the way the infection was growing. You know what I mean? And I have this pick tool. And I shoved that bitch in the back of my throat, and I poked that as hard as I could, and it didn't even take much pressure. And man, it didn't even go in that deep. Just enough to break the skin. You know what I mean?
That was on the inside, right?
Yeah.
That skin's a little less tough than the skin. Oh, but that's probably where they were going to lance it for the Texan. Yeah, you're right.
So, but because I was able to poke it, from the outside, I was able to push.
Yeah. Oh.
And all of that infection was coming out through that puncture. You know what I mean?
Oh, now I see why it's gross.
Yep.
That's disgusting. You probably accidentally drank some.
But dude, I brushed my teeth, I gargled.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's disgusting.
But I just never saw anything like that before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
But so afterwards, and I'm talking like instantly, I felt so much better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
So I go to work the next morning, and one of the guys I works with, because dude, this was huge, dude. It looked like I was squirreling it. You know what I mean? Like I had nuts in my mouth, right? And I get to work the next morning. Older guy, I worked with. He stops and he's looking at me, and he was like, "How did that swelling go down so much?" And I explained to him what happened or what I had done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, it looks like it worked." He was like, "Do you feel better?" And I was like, "Dude, I barely feel it." You know what I mean? And dude, just the relief. So yeah, man up, Texan.
Well, Texan says, "I ain't cutting nothing but a rug." And Ginger45 says the dentist will give antibiotics to clear up the infection.
Well, that's the problem. Now I was thinking the pain reliever.
No, yeah.
Because it's my understanding that doesn't work that well if there's an infection.
Right. You have to clear that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a question of choosing the right antibiotics. I saw a news story once, and they said clindamycin in certain infections, something or other. And my brother was in med school, so I just called him and left him a message. He was in another state. He was out near Hendrickson or whatever it's called in Nevada.
Yeah, right outside of Vegas.
Yeah. So he was staying there. I was still in Texas. Or no, I was in New York. I forget where I was. But I just left him a voicemail. A couple months later, I find out that he was having the exact same problem the radio said to not use clindamycin for, and it makes it worse. And his dentist had gave it to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I almost died. I was just like 104 fever in my room, and nobody was checking on me or anything." I'm like, "I left you a voicemail." He's like, "I couldn't get to it." But
you know what? You know what might help?
What?
Colloidal silver.
Oh yeah.
Because bacteria and viruses can't live on silver. He could probably go to like a CVS or something and get the liquid kind.
Oh, I didn't know they had that at CVS. That's awesome.
I'm just guessing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I never looked for it. I need to. I need to get some.
but yeah, that might help. Shit. I wonder what they did back in the day when they had problems like this.
Whiskey. I'm
Did they
guessing.
even have whiskey back then? I'm talking Bible days.
Oh, way back. No, they had a thing called fortified wine. At least, let's see, when did they get fortified wine Bible? Let's see when they invented fortified wine. Yeah, they talk about it at Proverbs. So that's way back. That's like, 3,000 years ago, let's say. Yeah, cool. So yeah, they knew how to make something strengthened. Well, I mean, they had to have something crazy for Lot to not notice what was going on.
Well, I'm pretty certain they were more into herbs and natural stuff to
I have
help
to put,
alleviate
yep,
problems.
I have to put a couple of cat pictures in the chat real quick. Duppy says laudanum. Oh, amoxicillin. That's a good one, the Texan. I don't know what Duppy's mentioning laudanum for. Opium, right? That's a form of opium, I think.
That might help, but you're gonna be high as shit.
Yeah. I never had it before.
Yeah, me neither.
But there's a thing called paregoric. Let me look it up. It's like opium for toddlers. Paregoric.
What?
Yep. It's basically, I guess, really watered down opium. We used to give it to my little brother.
Wow, I never even heard of it.
Yep. Paregoric. Paregoric. It
Yeah, but
tastes.
you get it.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
No, it tastes nasty.
Yeah, you get a chance, dude. Check out that link I sent you, and then let me know what you thought. Because I was gonna watch it again, or at least listen to it.
Yeah. Oh, laudanum is opium mixed with alcohol. I never knew that. I did not know that.
I'm assuming you can't go to the liquor store and buy that.
Not these days. Not since like probably the 1920s.
Right.
But I think in the Old West, all the movies and books say you could get it.
Dude, they were making all kind of concoctions back during that time.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they? I haven't dug into this, but you ever catch like? Apparently, that stuff was unleashed on China way back in the day. I don't know if that's true. I just keep hearing that.
Dude, what's the name of that train company? The East Indian Train Railroad or something?
So there's the East India Trading Company, and I can't remember the name of the railroad company.
Oh, it's the same company, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe. Here, let's find out.
Well, they did that to the Chinese on purpose. And didn't that start? Isn't that the whole reason why they did the Opium Wars?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm remembering. You're remembering it better. There's a 30-second delay, so in about 10 seconds, Duppy's going to tell us in the chat, I hope.
All right. Because wasn't the East Indian Company, wasn't that a British company?
Mm-hmm. East Indies Trading Company, EITC or something like that.
Yeah, they were doing the whole opium thing with the Chinese on purpose, bro.
So is that kind of what annoyed China and why they're trying to like get us back?
If I remember right, they were using the opium because for trade, China wanted gold.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to use gold. And so they started getting people high. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think they were starting to use opium because even back then, China had a huge population.
Well,
I'll have to look that one up. Here, let me write that down. I haven't thought about that in a long time. And now they're trying to do another trading route. What's the name of that?
oh, the Silk Road.
Well, they had a Silk Road back in the day.
Yeah.
What's the new one that they're trying to do? Is that one called the Silk Road too?
It's got another name. Duppy's going to jump on here in a second and explain it to us all on the call. Belton Road, right?
What is it?
Something like a Belton Road or something.
Nah, that doesn't ring any bells.
Well, it's still
Type
right.
in Chinese new trading route because they're putting a mass amount of infrastructure money into that.
Yeah, it's the Belt and Road Initiative.
What's up, Duppy? It's been a minute.
Hey guys,
Brother Duppy.
so you guys want to hear about the East India Company? It plays a pretty big role in my research.
Oh, go all ahead because we Bible wise we don't have much material to go over.
This week
Okay.
was this
Well,
week's text repeated all of last week's text.
This is fine. I mean, I think this is as important a topic as anything in terms of what we're dealing with.
Nice.
So back around 1600, right after the Age of Discovery, when guys like Sir Francis Drake were cruising around in their boats and finding new lands and stealing people's money and all that stuff, they came back to their home countries and talked about what amazing economic opportunities there would be in these new lands. So the Dutch East India Company formed. Actually, I take that back. The East India Company formed first, and a few months or maybe a year later, the Dutch East India Company formed. The Dutch East India Company went to the Spice Islands out in Indonesia first and kind of created a monopoly. The Brits were a little slow getting off the mark, and when they tried to mix it up in Indonesia, the Dutch kicked their asses because they were already established there. So that was when the Brits decided to basically take over India. And what's amazing that a lot of people don't, hell, I didn't know until I started looking into it. The Indian Empire that the East India Company conquered was the Mughal Empire, Moghul. And it's estimated that at that time, the Mughal Empire was 40% of the world's GDP.
Wow.
That's a lot. That was a big surprise for me. I had no idea. And it mostly had to do with, I think it was textiles and stuff like cotton and weaving and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
who were they trading with?
shoot, probably everybody up to the Silk Road and whatnot. You know, the Silk Road, when we hear about it, we think that, oh, well, yeah, it existed about 1000 AD and was, you know, a big deal then. But it was actually a big deal for most of human history.
Yeah.
So, you know, pick any time period and it was the main artery for trade.
Okay.
So the Brits basically raped India.
Mm-hmm.
Literally raped India.
Who didn't they rape?
Yeah, exactly. So the East India Company became very, very, very prosperous, and they were very, very brutal and totalitarian, essentially. They became the de facto governor in India for well over 100 years, maybe even 200 years. So this was literally the first fascist government on the planet where a corporation was the government. That should tell you something right there.
Yeah.
You know, everybody thinks, oh, who were the first fascists? The Nazis? No, it was the Brits. So, to make a long story short, the reason that I've studied it so much, G. Ross, our favorite friend Perry.
Oh yeah, Perry
his-
calves.
Yeah, his ancestor was one of the first big investors in the East India Company. So, and at the time that he invested in that venture, you know, right at the ground floor,
Mm-hmm.
his family was already, his mother, this was the first Earl of Devonshire. His mother was considered the second wealthiest woman in England after the Queen.
Mm.
So 500 years ago, or 400 and something years ago, or more actually,
Yep.
that family was already the second wealthiest family in England. So imagine, take that money and parlay it into the East India Company and subsequent investments after the East India Company and other investments like the East India Company. They were early investors in the Virginia Company too. So you can imagine what kind of money they actually have now. Just staggering, probably.
Right.
Man, this sounds like it's Rothschild's level.
I think these people are more powerful than the Rothschilds, probably. Rothschilds didn't get their start until late 1700s. So these people had 200 years on them. And I wouldn't be surprised if these people were early investors in Rothschild companies, maybe even the Bank of England. I just can't find any record of that. But I did find conclusive proof that they were the first large investors in the East India Company because I found the original charter signed by Queen Elizabeth I. And the Cavendish guy is the fifth name on it.
Hmm.
I just realized this morning that I should probably go through all the names in that charter to see if any of them match up with the other trees that I've done too.
That makes sense.
Because I actually found a way earlier in the week to connect up through the East India Company, the Cavendishes to their lieutenants, the Sands family, the Cavendish's agent for their East India Company investments was this guy named Edwin Sands. Edwin Sands' ancestors married into the Cheneys.
Oh man.
Yep. So I just found that a couple days ago. One more thing to say about the East India Company. They pretty much dominated most of the globe. And
The what?
they shut down in 1873. That was when the East India Company ceased to exist, which coincidentally is 2 years after the Organic Act of 1871.
Right.
Also, if you go back to the Revolutionary War, the very first warship for the colonies that flew a flag, guess what flag they flew?
Oh, EIT.
Yep. The East India Company flag. So, I guess to wrap all of this up, I'm wondering if the United States is a corporation, it just might be the heir to the East India Company.
Right.
So, what affiliation did they have with the Opium Wars?
All of it. They caused it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, these people are awful. They're bad. They ran slaves and all kinds of shit.
But did it have to do with the fact that China wanted gold for their trade?
Oh man, that's a good question because I read something a little while ago and I just kind of skimmed over it. But it had to do with why they forced opium on China, and it had to do with balancing their trade with something else that was in their sort of portfolio, and I don't remember what it was. I don't think it was gold. I think it was something more mundane than that, though. So anyway, that's the East India story.
So
I know that they traded teas and coffees and stuff like that.
Yeah, sugar.
Yeah, but all throughout history, it's my understanding. Even when China still had emperors and stuff like that, like if they dealt with trade from like a foreigner, it was always my understanding that they wanted gold. That was the reason. I thought that was the reason why the Dragon family had so much gold.
The who? Which family?
The Dragon family.
Oh, the Dragon family. Oh, I got a Dragon family story for you too.
bring
I
it.
think I've told it before, but it is really weird. Honestly, I don't know the answer to that, whether they insisted on trading gold or not. I don't think the Chinese were as insular as the Japanese were, though.
Well, hey, real quick. All right. I never knew how true this was, and I could never find any dirt on it. But the Dragon family gave our government a shitload of gold. Our Federal Reserve was supposed to give that back after like 100 years or whatever the contract was.
Okay.
I haven't read that. I suppose it's possible. I do
But
know that one of the stories associated with our deep state is Yamashita's gold from World War II. Remember that story?
mm-mm.
So supposedly during
Wait, hold on,
shortly
real quick, 'cause I'm almost done. So the Dragon family took the Federal Reserve to court, from what this was saying.
What year approximately would that have been?
Oh, I'm gonna get there. So, and I don't remember if it was a world court or something like that. But they decided in favor of the Dragon family, according to this. And then right afterwards, when they were supposed to give that gold back, 9/11 happens.
Oh.
So they're saying that gold that was under Building 7 was the Dragon family gold. And it just magically disappeared.
I thought that gold was supposedly under one of the big towers.
I thought it was under Building 7.
Doesn't really matter, though.
I don't think that event would get rid of the gold underneath. It'd still be there.
No, I think because of that event.
The story is that they, as right before and as 9/11 was happening, there were trucks down in the basement taking that gold out of there. That's what I remember hearing.
Got it.
I'm honestly, Yoda, I'm not familiar with the Dragon family /Fed story at all. I've never seen that before.
Kind of funny how they like to put this shit in movies. Y'all remember that Die Hard movie?
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah, the one with Jeremy Irons is the bad guy.
I don't remember his name, but it has Samuel L. Jackson in it.
Yeah, that's the one. I think it was the third one.
That's the third one.
Yeah.
They were using the dump trucks to get all that gold. Remember?
Yeah.
Excellent point.
But they were taking in that movie. They were taking it out of the Federal Reserve building.
It's still similar.
It is very much. It is. So you want to hear the weird dragon thing I ran across?
Oh yeah.
This is like one of the most random freaking things that I've come across in doing these genealogies. I never dreamed that I would touch the Chinese nobility at all. I'm doing all the Middle Eastern, European nobility stuff. And part part of the story with the Middle Eastern branches of the nobility is that they were tied in with the Iranians or the Persians, as they were called at that time.
Mhm.
So there was cross-pollination between like Rome and Persia and stuff like that. And if you track the Persian royalty down to the point in 600 AD when they got swamped by Islam, the very last Persian king or Shah fled as Islam was about to seal the deal. You know where he went? He went to China.
Why China?
Well, there's not terribly well substantiated, but there are stories that his aunt had married the Tang Emperor of China.
Huh.
And so he already had a family connection. But he did go there, and he took at least one of his brothers with him and became favorites in the Chinese Tang court. And there's a number of things that say that he married into the Tang royal dynasty. So, okay, so that's weird. Now we get this same bloodline into China in 600 AD.
Dang.
But here's the kicker. Yoda, do you remember the name that you run across the most with the dragon family? What their name is?
I haven't thought about them in so long.
It's Li, Li. Everything I've read, and I haven't read a whole lot, but everything I've read about the dragon families always mentions the Li family, Li.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever knew that.
Well, the Tang royal dynasty, that this Persian guy who had Roman blood and all that in him, he the Tang dynasty family name was Li.
Okay.
So yeah, I never dreamed that there would be a connection to be had with China with these people that I've been poking around at, but there it was. And you can look it up. It even says on Wikipedia, if you know that last prince's name and you look at Persian prince's name, you look him up. It talks about how he ended up in China and was very close with the royal family. There's even to this day, there are statues in China that they think are statues of this guy, this Persian prince.
Yeah.
No, I would have never known about this.
I certainly didn't. I just stumbled on it by accident.
That is very random. I mean,
Yeah.
I love coming across random stuff that's interesting. That's very random.
Well, one of the things that always kind of bothered me was that, everybody talks about how these powerful Chinese families, dragon families, whatever you want to call them, are part of the cabal. And it always puzzled me, like, if the cabal is sort of a bloodline thing, how did these guys get mixed up with the cabal? And I always thought the most likely answer was, to bring this full circle, was through the East India Company and the Opium Wars.
Yeah.
That would have been the most likely time period for that to happen.
Right.
And that's what, up until 2 months ago, that's kind of what I thought. Then I stumbled across this and I'm like, holy crap, it happened 1,600 years earlier or 1,200 years earlier. Holy man, that's just bizarre.
That's a good find, man.
I tell people all the time, if you want real entertainment, learn about history, read the Bible.
Yeah,
you gotta be careful about what history you learn, though, because they definitely lied to us about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I think G-Ross saw it, but I think that whole Da Vinci Code story is a lie. And I showed on my shows who.
Are you talking about the book?
Yeah, but there's more than one book that basically says that the Merovingian kings of Europe, who were the earliest post-Roman kings, were the descendants of Mary Magdalene. So they had the holy bloodline in them and all of that.
Right.
And they've tried to pass it off as really credible and built this mythology around it. That started in the 80s with a book that was written.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Brown, when he wrote the Da Vinci Code, took that book and built his fictional story around what was in that other book. It was called Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
I find it hard to believe that they have any connection to Mary, because
Well, I found that they really don't.
I mean,
They're
like,
actually descended from Constantine's daughter and his nephew.
There you go.
so all right, so you already got that Persian mix, and they're supposed to be affiliated with Canaanites. Now, if that Queen Elizabeth really was a reptile,
Persians really weren't.
Right. That was something we talked about earlier, Yoda. I was going to check on that.
The lizard thing or the
No, the
Canaanite
Persian. So the Persians are kind of to the east and the northeast, right?
Right. They're considered Aryans. They're
Right.
their origins are considered to have come down from the steppes, and they were Aryans, and
But
they
could they-
actually mixed with the Indians a lot, and that's where the old Indian myths seem to come from.
Gotcha. But could they have come a longer time ago from a similar strain and split? One went east, one went south.
Yeah, I think so. I basically they when they came out of the steppes, they ended up in, and this goes back to the Abraham story,
Right.
because these were the Hurrians.
Right.
Remember I was talking about them.
Right.
These were the same people. They were Aryans also. These people that came out of the steppes, very light-skinned.
Right.
And they spread out to the east and to the west. So they spread from like the area of southeast Turkey and the Caucasus.
Right.
They spread out west into Turkey, Anatolia, and they also spread to the east into Iran. And this was,
But see, when
2000 BC.
Right. And this is what I think Black Yoda is keying on. So Abram came from, let's say, Urkesh, to make things simple, and I'm kind of sold on that anyway. He comes to Haran, and then he goes all the way down to Egypt. There's already the Egyptians there.
Mm-hmm.
So could they have come from a similar line as what was over in Urkesh? That's the main question, I think.
The Egyptians, you mean?
Yeah, all the way down, or at least the ones in the Negev Valley, a little bit to the east, like the Canaanites, basically.
Well, what I'm working on is that these people that Abraham was likely a part of were actually the Hyksos pharaohs. So
right, I'm cool with that as long as he can go back to Shem, because the text says he's Shemite.
I'm not going back that far, so I'll never be able to give you an answer to that.
Don't say never. You keep getting deeper and deeper
I know,
and finding stuff.
I actually, here's the other crazy thing. If Abraham's father, Teru, if you remember me talking about him, if he married a local Hurrian woman, which I think is very likely because there's actually scripture that says that the Israelites came from Amorite and Hittite stock.
Okay.
Well, the Hittites were very, very closely culturally aligned with the Hurrians.
Right.
In a lot of ways, they were almost the same civilization.
Okay.
So if that's true, through the Urkesh Hurrian royal line, you can literally connect to Sargon of Akkad,
right,
the very first empire builder.
Right.
So that would mean through my whole bloodline, all the way up to the present day, these people have been behind building all of the empires of the world.
So check it out.
They are Nimrod.
Right.
I
So,
was just about to ask you that.
so let me ask you this. Going back to, is America an offshoot of East India Trading Company? Look at this theory, and I got to tread very lightly, and I'm not going to hold to this if it gets me in hot water with what I teach and learn. But I'm still in. Okay, let me throw it out there. Hammurabi and his friends are up northeast. They sweep down, around, and up and go past Abram. They don't capture him. Then there's this great big show of him going far north past Damascus and coming back with all the goods. And that's what gets Lot and him set up as major landlords. Does that sound like an inside operation between the two? You know, see what I'm saying?
Well, Hammurabi was an Amorite.
Yeah, you can see it in the name, right?
Yeah, I'm not that expert with the names, but we
just pronounce Amorite and Hammurabi. It's right there.
Yeah, that's I don't feel qualified to say
all
that.
Right. But you see what I'm saying? Like he goes from where Kedorlaomer and those guys are. It's an inside job, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, if what I'm doing is right, and it's I'm still working kinks out of it, but
right.
Possibly, since Hammurabi was an Amorite,
right,
and the Amorites came from Syria originally before they spread into Babylon,
right?
It's possibly they could be related,
right? But I'm just saying, look at the operation. Big giant army comes down, swoops around, doesn't really want to manage the place. This is a huge stretch, but I just can't shake it. Swoops around. They stop paying their tax. So Abraham and Lot show up, and right when they show up, suddenly the locals stop paying their taxes. Here comes the 4 kings, rout the 5 kings, capture Lot. They disappear off to the north. Abraham gets 318 soldiers. They go off to the north. For all people know, they come back with all the goods.
Ralph Ellis,
yeah,
his interpretation of 318 soldiers.
I
think I mentioned this before. He says that it probably means 318 officers, which means he had a
still,
big-ass army.
You're talking about like a tiny army compared to the 4 giant tyrant armies that came through. I'm just saying, was it an inside operation?
Not really. Ellis says that if you think of each one of those officers of the 318 as like a centurion in the Roman army, that's 100 people. That's 100 soldiers. Each one of them commands. That gives Abraham an army of 30,000 people.
Is there any archaeological evidence that he wandered around with 30,000 people constantly?
Of course not.
Okay. I mean, all right.
I just think it's an interesting interpretation.
Sure.
And then how do you even feed that many people on a regular basis?
You have to kind of feed yourself off the land as you're the army.
Somehow they did it. I mean, look at Alexander the Great trekking all the way to India and Afghanistan. How did he feed that army?
Yeah, that's true.
They must have had some pretty serious supply lines.
Sure. Thaggy found the Lee symbol in the chat.
Yeah, I was wondering what he was up to, and I think that symbol looks like the right one that I've seen in some stuff I've read about that name Lee.
If I mess this up, I'll come back.
Okay.
But I don't remember if it was that link that I sent you that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But you remember how we were talking about that Ukrainian flag?
Oh yeah, with the bird.
Well, somebody connected the dots. Now I got to remember what this was affiliated with, because they got 3 examples right here.
Did they conclude something differently than what I did?
Here, I'm gonna send. Oh wait, hold on, I messed that up. So in the one picture, you have the Ukrainian crest, which is that bird-looking thing. The middle picture, you have a Moloch sigil, which looks almost identical. And then the last one, I can't make out that word, but I'm hitting save right now. G Ross, you want me to text this to you, or do you want me to put it on my Facebook?
Facebook, because that's quicker, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
No.
So Pete Aggie says that's a tree character, which could also work. The tree is like deeply symbolic.
Well, you remember all the time I spent talking about the tree.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could make the same statements all the way over in China, but possibly if the tree is symbolic of their bloodline.
All right, that's on my Facebook right now, G Ross.
Steven.
And I'm trying to remember who was talking about this.
What?
Yeah, pull that one up.
Wait, you're blocked, man.
What do you think?
Steven Ferner doesn't exist anymore.
No, they come up as Black Yoda and then Steven Ferner.
Black Yoda, really?
Yeah.
I can't get to you, man.
Are you serious?
I'm telling you. Hang on.
Here, I'll send you a link and you can pull up the link.
Well, except for if you text it to me on my phone, it's going to be a nightmare. But oh no, he says not a tree. It means plum. All right, so I give up. So what is going on here?
Here, you want me to drop it in the chat?
Yes, please.
All right, hold on. Give me a second.
Yeah, I cannot find you anymore.
I did get censored the other day.
Yeah. Oh, I might have you. No.
Oh, you just doxed yourself.
How so?
What?
Both of you guys did.
Oh, I don't mind doxing. I broadcast on my actual Facebook. How did Yoda dox me?
I don't know if that's the whole link. Let me see. Yeah, that's the whole link. Because you know how sometimes if the link is too long, it'll cut it off.
All right, here, let me share.
Yep, that picture. There's a lot of similarities between them three pictures.
I still can't see it yet.
It's being shared on Brave.
Oh, and Jitsi, you mean?
Or yeah, Jitsi, yeah.
Oh, there it is. It just came up and pilled briefly. Looks like you took it down.
I love the similarity with Moloch. I never saw that. That's good.
Oh dear, I've never seen that Moloch sigil before.
That's
that really
fantastic. That's crazy. And the Khazarian thing. That's a great picture, Yoda.
I'm trying to remember who was sharing that. Because I just snatched that one up today.
That's crazy.
I've never seen that Moloch one before. I wonder if there's somewhere to verify it.
You can here. Let me try it.
I'll do a quick quick web search just to see if anything pops
Yeah,
up.
I was just about to try.
I'll do it.
All right. But when you look at the three of those, you gotta wonder. And it's my understanding the Khazarians have been in the Ukraine area for a long time.
Right.
The story that I recall about the Khazarians, and I'm not a fan of the Khazarian hypothesis because I don't think it's necessary anymore,
There you
given
go.
what I've found. But the story is that they were a bunch of nasty Turkish people
Okay.
just up there on the steppes, and they were evil. They probably were some kind of pagans. They, did unspeakable things. They robbed people. Um, everything nasty you can think of, they supposedly did, but they were Turks. And then they were sandwiched between in like 800 AD. They were sandwiched between the Russians and Islam down to the south. And both of those empires got really pissed at them and basically said, you can't do this pagan shit anymore. You need to choose one of the three Abrahamic religions. And supposedly these evil Turkish people said, well, if we choose Islam, then the Russians are going to be pissed at us. If we choose Christianity, then Islam's going to be pissed at us. So we'll choose Judaism. And, the story is, I guess, that they faked it from there on, right?
Right.
There's something about that didn't sit right with me, primarily because that isolates them from the bloodline that I've been working from.
Right.
Right. So
it feels a little smoke screeny.
Yeah. And I've also come across some things. Remember my Al Gore dig?
Mm-hmm.
I've run across some things saying that there were substantial Jewish communities in the Rhine Valley right after the Roman Empire fell. So again, you don't need the whole Khazarian thing to get Jewish populations into Europe. They were already there.
Yeah, but I thought that was a conversion and not a bloodline.
Well, it was. But people are using the Khazarian thing to say, see, the Ashkenazis aren't real Israelites. They're
Right.
converted Turks. I wouldn't be surprised if that whole story turns out to be a psyop.
Right.
To divert who these people really are. And there's also a book that I stumbled across about a month ago, and I read it voraciously. It's linked on my Pilled page. I had never heard of it before, and I actually sat there reading it 3 days straight with my mouth wide open going, oh my God. And it was written in 2010, and it is very, very similar to my stuff.
Nice.
And it basically talks about how, and it makes some really good points. Unfortunately, it's short on actual evidence. It kind of goes with coincidences, correlations, things like that to build this story that the Jewish priests that were exiled out of Jerusalem when the Romans destroyed it, through Flavius Josephus, who is known to have been a good buddy of Emperor Vespasian. Through him, they infiltrated Rome and eventually took over the Roman Empire.
Wait,
And
why Why do I remember that name, Flavius Josephus?
That's that historian.
Right.
Oh, okay.
He's considered the foremost Jewish historian of the Roman era.
Right. I just couldn't remember.
But, he wasn't an anti-Rome guy.
Right.
He actually worked for the Emperor of Rome. That's why his name is Flavius. Doesn't sound very Jewish, does it?
Right.
Yeah. So he adopted the Vespasian's family name. That's how tight he was with the emperor. So
What is
so
what?
this
Real quick, what is that DNA company that you mail in
23
your
and me.
yeah.
Dude, did y'all see that BlackRock bought that out?
Oh crap! Those
Not
guys
surprised.
Why are they so interested in people's DNA?
Duh. They're
No,
deep
look,
state.
the reason why I asked that is because of what we were talking about earlier, G. Ross, with like the serpent line versus the God spark.
suck. Right.
Do you think I'm fetching on that one? Because that was one of the first things I thought of, after watching that podcast this morning. Like, are they looking for the people that are one line or the other?
I'm super woo, so I think it's not woo enough. I'm with you all the way. Anka Vanka has the fourth PSYOP group Instagram thing in the link. Right,
Hey,
right.
can I finish up on the Moloch sigil thing really quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
So, yes, there are entries that show that as being a Moloch symbol. Doesn't say sigil.
Right.
There's a different thing that is considered the Moloch sigil. It's a totally different looking figure. But these quick little links that I'm looking at, these image links, call that figure the Moloch symbol. Now, if you remember my shows, I try to make a case that Moloch may not be an actual god, so to speak. It may actually be the word from Egyptian for king or pharaoh.
Sure.
So remember, I've also made the case that the falcon, Horus, is intimately associated with the pharaoh. So this may all tie together that Moloch actually is the pharaoh. And when they talk about Moloch sacrifices, a lot of people think now that Molochs might actually be a type of sacrifice, and I can't get it out of my head. What if this is a sacrifice to the pharaoh or the king?
Right.
And that, maybe that's why this Moloch symbol, Ukrainian symbol, looks like a falcon,
Mm-hmm.
because it's symbolic of the pharaoh / Nimrod / king / antichrist, whatever you want to call it.
I always thought Moloch was like one of the fallen.
I've never seen that. It's still, everything I run across with Moloch, it's very highly debated as far as what actually it is. But MLK, because remember the ancient Semitic languages didn't have vowels, right?
Right.
So the word Moloch comes from the letters MLK.
Right.
And MLK is also the Egyptian for owl.
Right.
And it also, I think, in the Semitic means king.
Well, the owl thing would make sense because that's where they have that thing in California.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Where all the war. Hey, wait, I heard that burnt down. Is that true?
I haven't heard that.
I forgot the name of the place.
Bohemian Grove.
Yes. Can you look that up real quick?
Whether it burnt down?
Yeah, I forgot about that. I don't remember where I heard that from. And if that's true, that would have been about a year and a half ago, maybe. Nah, maybe a year ago.
So
So here's something
Yeah.
from when's this date? From 2015. Cabin fire at Bohemian Grove awakens campers. That was probably Al Gore sparking up a doobie in his cabin or something.
So Dup,
Nah,
Pete.
what I'm
Nah.
talking about, it wouldn't have been that far back.
I don't see anything on it off real quick here. Now there was a fire might be near there in 2020, a big huge fire. Does that ring a bell? The
Possibly, because this would have been when Newsom was begging for federal money, and they were talking about how they didn't have the funds to clean up like dead brush and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, I think you can say that for a lot of the California
And there was,
fires.
there was two people. There was two people that arrested for deliberately setting the fires.
Now
That-
I don't know how close Bohemian Grove is to Vacaville, I think that this article mentions. But it's possible that, it could have taken some damage from one of these fires. It just it doesn't mention Bohemian Grove in this article about the fire.
I'll have to look that one up later.
I don't know off the top of my head exactly where Bohemian Grove is. I know the general area, but not accurately enough. Here, let me.
Yeah.
But what you said about MLK being affiliated with the owl, that was the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah, I have a slide on that in my first show, I think.
Because it does seem like there's a lot of owl worship out there.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if both the falcon and the owl and the phoenix are symbolic of the pharaoh figure.
Did you say the phoenix?
Yep. From what all the stuff I found, the things point to all three of those being representative of possibly the pharaoh or king or antichrist or Nimrod or whatever you want to call him.
Did you ever see anything talking about, how like they have the hieroglyphs where it'll be a human body with an animal head?
Yeah, those are usually attributed to gods.
Right.
Egyptian gods.
I saw something a few months ago talking about how all of those animals with those depictions you can find in the Americas. And some of them you can't even find in Egypt.
I haven't heard that. I suppose it's possible, but I haven't heard that. I know that Set is supposed to have like a jackal head. Those are in Africa. Horus has a falcon head.
No, actually, they don't think it's a jackal. There's a dog here in the Americas. Looks a lot like a jackal, but it's stronger built.
Okay, but why would you favor that over a jackal, which is right there?
Because of the hypothesis
because they found a lot of Egyptian stuff here in America. Mm-hmm. Just the stuff that was in the Grand Canyon, And there's a lot of other locations that have
Yeah,
Egyptian.
that stuff's pretty highly contested, so I don't really use it in my work. Although I'll give you this, Yoda.
Hmm.
I have a very strong suspicion that the Phoenicians very likely made it to North America
Now you're talking.
3,000 years ago.
Now
But
you're talking.
there really isn't very much direct evidence that they did archaeologically, but it's been proven that they could have made it with their
But those
ships.
Viking boats look just like.
What, with the red and white sails?
Yeah, and the way they come up on the front and the back with those little tall kind of.
Oh yeah, and the bow and the stern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's very much similarities. I mean there's people that think that, well, first off, it is now accepted pretty much everywhere that the Phoenicians did make it to England in about 1000 BC. Why? Because they were mining tin in Cornwall. That's actually accepted now. It wasn't until about 20 years ago. It was very much contested.
Huh.
Wait,
It's now accepted
they were mining tin and what?
in Cornwall, southwest England.
Okay, okay.
So, if they could make it there, why the hell couldn't they have made it to Sweden or whatever and somehow had something to do with Viking culture and bloodlines and things like that? It's just not, there's no evidence of it, but it seems plausible. So, if that was the case, and Robert Sepper has talked about this connection too, that he thinks that there is a connection between Viking culture and artifacts with Phoenicians. I'm not against the idea. It's just not enough for me to work with.
Sure, yet, but it's getting more and more clear.
It does seem like the Phoenicians got around.
Mm-hmm.
They did, and isn't it suspicious that we know so little about them? They literally dominated the entire Mediterranean basin for 1,000 years. And so much of their history is gone. And a lot of people think there might have been a lot of their history stored in the library at Alexandria.
Yeah.
And then it's poof. Up in flames or in the Vatican archives.
I was just thinking about the Vatican.
Yeah.
But nah, if it's disappeared, more than likely it was done on purpose.
Oh, we got a can from Mahington
Could have
Alien
been.
Server.
Could have been, yeah. So yeah, there's still a lot of very, very interesting mysteries out there in all this. I mean, the history that we've been taught, not even close to reality.
Oh man, I saw a link earlier today, and I can't remember where they were at, but they were in the middle of nowhere, and it was kind of woodsy. But whatever this structure was, it was made out of metal, and it was old school Tatarian style, but with a sci-fi look to it. And it has something to do with high volt electricity. You can tell just by looking at it.
Can they date it?
I don't know. They couldn't figure out what it was, but just by looking at it, you could tell it has something to do with high volt electricity.
Like big cylindrical plates and stuff.
Something like that.
Maybe it's Tesla's lost lab.
Wait, he has a lost lab?
I don't know. I just made that up,
Oh.
but it would fit.
I looked at so much stuff today. I'll see if I can try to find it. I'm surprised I didn't save it. And then, I was looking at something earlier where you take let's say like a wooden post, but like a real thin one, thin in circumference, and he tapered the end so you can, hit it into the ground. And it must have been about a good 6, 7 feet tall. And he drilled a hole in the bottom and he ran some copper through it. And the copper was like, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch in diameter. And he wrapped it 9 times around the post clockwise. And you just stick it in the ground. And then he drilled another hole at the top to run the copper straight up, pointing at the sky. And because it's grounded, it creates like some kind of energy field to where you can get more yield out of your garden, like within 15 feet in diameter, right? And I've been seeing a lot of stuff like that lately. And the reason why I point that out is because there's some old world tech that we don't know nothing about. And more people are coming across stuff like this. So, we go over the Bible and things like that. And a lot of us think that that's the whole reason why they did World War I and II, so they could bomb a lot of those structures to further get rid of our history,
Yeah, I guess
That makes more sense than everyone hated
possible.
Ferdinand.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think all the archaeological sites in Iraq and Syria that ISIS took out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was purposeful to try to hide some of the shit that I'm finding.
I think so too. Because when I forget if it was Desert Storm or the next time we went to Iraq, but during one of those, there was a museum there.
Yeah.
And our country raided the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I've
heard that there's still stuff being recovered from that now. In fact, part of the Abraham Tara Urkesh story, there was something. Oh, I know what it was. I just found this about a week ago. Within the last year, a tablet was found that had been taken from that museum during the Iraq War, and it was recovered from some guy that was trying to sell it on the black market.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of academics got in there and translated this tablet. And it turns out, and I think I told G. Ross about this a couple of weeks ago. It turned out that it was like a Rosetta Stone, except instead of Egyptian and and Greek, it was Amorite and Akkadian, I think. So since they know the Akkadian language, they didn't know there was even such a thing as an Amorite written language until they found this tablet. Remember, this is just in the last year. So they were able to translate the Amorite part because they knew the Akkadian. And they found that Amorite is strikingly similar to Hebrew. And so this paper is going to the paper that's coming out on this is going to blow the doors off everybody, because it's basically going to say that the Amorite language is the Hebrew language. And that's, consistent with what I said earlier about in the scriptures, it said that the Israelites came from an Amorite and a Hittite, and Teru was probably an Amorite.
How big was the stone?
It was a clay tablet, so, kind of fits in 2 hands or something like that. Not very big. But that cuneiform writing is so dense, you don't really need something big.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to ultimately, because there's an age-old argument about we enslave the others because of them seeing Noah's pee-pee. We're going to have to settle that.
Wait, what?
The Canaanites are Hamites,
Right.
and the bloodlines are super important until Jesus arrives. And then Paul says, stop paying attention to bloodlines. And I'm going to get all freaked out if the Bible isn't accurate about the Hamites and the three sons of Noah, basically. I'm just freaking out over here.
Who brought that up with me?
Well, if I remember correctly, the Bible doesn't specifically say that he saw Noah's pee-pee.
It sounded like they violated that man.
Yeah, something
No,
like that.
I was watering it down.
Oh, my mailman friend. He's the one that brought that up with me. Yeah, you know what? I have a hard, because it's descriptive enough to make you wonder, but at the same time, not descriptive enough, you know? I don't know. It didn't have a good look to it.
It tells you just enough.
That's true with everything, though. You know, everything in history tells you what you need to know, according to the guy that wrote it down. What is
And
that?
then
The victors write the history, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then you got that promise that Abraham made the servant take that just didn't have a good look to it. You know what I mean? Or that oath. Did G Ross take off?
No, I'm just right here. Somebody was saying, I think it was Nova, I forget who, a couple weeks ago. The oath might have been, and this actually rings with me. It might have been, let's ceremonially confirm that I am of the covenant people. You see what I'm saying?
Not really.
Check it out. I'm circumcised. Put your hand here and double check and swear the oath.
Damn, that sounds like an oath Adam Schiff would take.
Oh man, I know this is off topic and political, but there was a lady. I don't know if she was in the House or Senate, but basically Adam Schiff used like $32 million chasing after Trump on Russia, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah, and she wanted half of that back from Schiff, right?
yeah, and the
Yeah.
Republicans dropped the ball.
Yep, that happened today.
Yeah,
That was Luna representative down in Florida, Anna Paulina Luna, that put that out there.
that kind of irritated me because it's already been proven that it's complete and utter bullshit. And for like ever, Schiff was claiming, "Oh yeah, we got all kind of evidence. I just can't talk about it right now." Lying through his teeth.
Yeah, that's anybody paying attention. It should be readily apparent that these people are lying and trying desperately to cover up shit.
Because if they would have voted properly on that, because doesn't Schiff want to run for Senate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have messed that all up.
Oh yeah.
And I would have been happy to see it. You know?
I think we all would be.
Hey, you ever see the clown emoji on your phone?
Yeah.
Dude, tell me that doesn't look like Adam Schiff.
Nova says rabbis say Ham castrated Noah.
What would be the purpose to doing that
I
to
know.
poor Noah?
How did that even hint anywhere towards that?
I think from what I've seen when people talk about it, the language used in the scriptures is so vague, you can basically make out of it what you want.
I mean, wouldn't circumcising him make more sense?
Maybe he just
That's
wanted to
what-
circumcise him and he missed. I mean, they were drinking.
Oh dear.
Man,
That gets back to the topic of ghostwood.
I forgot what ghostwood is.
Well, you
Yeah,
know
what's
how
that?
when people lose a leg or an arm,
Oh,
they
no,
say that they can
oh,
still feel the leg or the arm.
Oh, Duppy.
So,
Yeah,
so you
man.
got to wonder if trannies that get the surgery get ghostwood.
Right.
I don't think I would have ever thought of that.
Good job, sir.
It takes a pretty twisted mind to come up with something like that.
I'm sitting here thinking, ghostwood, is that thing where the people in Japan go into the forest and they see the dead people? No.
I don't
There
remember
actually-
the name of the place.
There
but yeah.
there actually is a thing called ghostwood, because just for fun, I put it in a search engine, and there's like a veneer that you can put on walls that looks like wood, but it's kind of like aged wood, and they call it ghostwood. Their brand name is Ghostwood.
Wow. Good job.
Wow. Well, as far as topic tonight, like I said, it wasn't really much to,
No, we knew going into it was going to be a repeat of last week, which was a repeat of the week before. I'm pretty sure I can finish out chapter 4 or 24 for next week.
Okay.
I'm starting to toy with, because the pacing is a little different. I'm contemplating a couple tweaks that might help speed this up. We'll see, because the storytelling is getting a little bit of a different pace. The first chapter of Genesis was
Well, at least I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
At least we're not far away from Rebecca giving birth to Esau and Jacob.
Right. But we get a lot more like fleshed out narrative instead of these like deeply cryptic and doubly embedded and, super dense creation stories. It's like a whole different vibe. So I'm going to maybe look and tweak into how I go through it.
I don't think we'll make it to that part next week.
Probably not.
Hey guys, Nova, I think, came up with something really interesting with regards going back to the Ham possibly.
Yeah, they're trying to control each
castrating
other's
Noah.
bloodlines.
Yeah, but it made me think that there's the same story in Greek mythology, not once but twice,
Mm-hmm.
when Zeus takes over as king of the gods. He castrates his father Cronus.
Right.
Likewise, Cronus had done it previously to his father, who was one of the real early primordial Greek gods. I can't remember which one offhand.
Well, and they lose Osiris's phallus as well.
Wait, I thought Zeus killed Kronos
No, he didn't kill him. He castrated him.
He sure.
or locked him up or something like that.
Well, in the movies, yeah.
Because they don't want to show it. It's G-rated.
But yeah,
Interesting.
that's interesting because, yeah, that basically is an act of, okay, the bloodline is mine now.
Right.
The younger generation taking over. And could Ham have felt similarly with regards to Noah and his bloodline? Entirely possible.
That's a very good point.
That's a new thought to me.
Yeah,
Like
it hadn't occurred to me before either. This is an interesting little
I
series
never
of chats.
I never even heard of Zeus castrating Kronos.
Oh yeah, that's one of the. That's not even like a obscure part of the Greek myth. That's a main part of it.
And then you got that Egyptian guy that was cut up into what, 13 pieces?
Yeah, Osiris, and they
Yeah,
lost his penis.
Osiris. But Osiris still managed to procreate.
I'm not sure how he pulled that one off. Because I know they made him a fake phallus.
Yeah,
Yep.
Isis did that. She made him a magic golden phallus, and somehow that managed to impregnate her.
It was probably a Cavendish banana.
Yeah, could be.
Well, they hadn't invented those yet. Well, they maybe hadn't discovered them. Well, the Oscar statue, some say, could be vaguely representing the golden penis.
I know the obelisks are supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the one in D.C., Vatican, and London.
I've only heard the Oscar thing as being an idol or being reminiscent of some of the statues of the Egyptian pharaohs.
Yeah, I don't 100% buy into it, but it was floating around on an Owen Benjamin episode.
Yeah.
So I'm at least contemplating it. Because there's some, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but there was some backup of it. But yeah.
All right. Like when we were talking about the owl thing earlier, did y'all ever see the layout of the owl or the owl that overlays the White House?
Washington, D.C. Yep.
Oh, you mean the air photos?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty plain as day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's there.
Well, especially when you line it out, because I've seen pictures where they lined it out in red.
It'd be really interesting is find out when those grounds were built that way. I have no idea when that happened. If it happened after the Organic Act of 1871, that would be very interesting.
Well, I know the White House burnt down at one point, didn't it?
Yeah, that was the War of 1812. The British burnt it.
When was the Organic Act again?
1871.
I've seen something about this before. Because there was an architect guy that was supposedly the one that designed the White House and the way it's laid out.
I remember reading a book when I was like 7 years old about when the White House was being built. It was built during John Adams' presidency because I think he was the first one who lived in it. So that would have been right around 1800, I think.
So it began, supposedly, 1792. I'm trying to see when it was finished.
Well, the Adams you're talking about, are you talking about the son?
No, John Adams, the father. John Quincy Adams was the son. He was like 1830s or something like that.
So they say it was finished around 1800.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Did you guys know that there's an actual photograph of John Quincy Adams out there?
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that with the age of the internet, they've kind of scared up all of these really old photos of famous people that you would have never thought that any photos of them actually existed.
To me, that's a Mandela effect because cameras didn't take pictures from back then.
They had to sit really still.
I think the cameras date back to the 1840s. And there's actually there's more than one photograph of Andrew Jackson. If you just go to Andrew Jackson's Wikipedia page, you can see it. One of them, anyway.
So if the
That's
ground
cool.
was broken in an 18, what did I say? Okay, I forgot already what I looked up. What did I say a minute ago?
I thought you said 1800.
It was finished in 1800. Oh, right, gotcha. Yeah, so way earlier. All right, never mind.
But yeah, that owl pops up everywhere.
Yeah, Thaggy put in the chat that, and I've run into this too, that in trying to figure out what the owl really represents, it gets confusing because it obviously can also mean wisdom, like the goddess Athena, because
Sure.
she was associated with the owl. So,
Well, they hijack symbols. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we can't let them keep them.
well, what I would settle on at this point, from what I've seen, is that it was a pharaonic symbol early, back with the Egyptians, but
Yeah.
then at later times it became associated with other things like Athena.
The ritualistic torture, killing, and blood drinking can
Oh,
go way back, though.
and if you remember from one of my shows, G. Ross, there's a statue of Set, the Egyptian god of chaos, storms, and evil, that I have in one of my slides, that perched on top of his head between his ears is a little owl.
Yeah.
And this is a statue that goes back to like 1300 BC or something like that.
Dang. Yeah, I remember that.
Wait, how was it on his head, or how was it between
Is
his
it
ears?
on his third eye?
You want to see it?
Yeah.
Give me a minute. I'll bring it up.
And then soon after that, I'm gonna pass out.
Hey, G. Ross, you ever see the golden sarcophagus, or it's either a sarcophagus or a statue? And I always knew it to have a snake on the front,
Mm-hmm.
but now there's like a bird or something next to it.
Yeah, they add. Thank you. Mandela is real.
But wasn't that like a falcon or something like
It
that?
used to just be a snake.
Yeah, it was always.
Now
just
it's side by side a snake and a bird.
Where? Say it. I was not.
You always
paying
used to see
attention.
King Tut and all these guys with just a cobra
Oh,
poking out the top.
the bird is supposed to be a vulture.
But
on
that's
that thing.
new. That
No,
never
I don't
was there.
think. I don't think it is. Well,
Listen,
since I've started looking into this stuff for the last 3+ years, it's been there at least that long.
okay, but it wasn't there before CERN fired up.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
'cause
wasn't.
it's
We
so
all read.
weird to me. It's so weird to me when I look at that now, because that bird was never there.
No, it was never there. We would have remembered it. Look, 12-year-old males, I'm not sure about girls, but 12-year-old boys read up on Titanic, the pyramids, Harry Houdini, Loch Ness Monster. We know all this stuff.
Yes.
We
Yes.
know everything about King Tut. He just had a snake.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to show my screen.
Thanks,
real
Thaggy.
quick. You guys see my screen?
Yeah, this thing.
Yeah, this is a statue of Set.
There's a little owl up on his head.
Yeah, 18th dynasty, and that's unmistakably an owl sitting on top of his head. So this goes back a long way before the Greeks.
So is that supposed to be? Wait a minute. That symbol,
Where?
that black one.
Over
Oh,
here?
That's the black sun symbol.
That's
Right.
right. That's the Jesuits.
Yoda, you didn't see all the W files.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't.
You would love the W files.
Yeah, go watch the vids, Yoda.
They're good.
Okay.
They're on. I think. Are they still on? Do you have them, Duppy, or they're on Ankavanka's Rumble?
They are. They reside on Ankavanka's Rumble page.
Okay, I got her snubbed.
Links to those videos are on my Pilled page also. Yoda, if you're going to watch any, start with there's two two videos. One's called Higher Loyalty and the other one's called Bananas. That's all of this slide material with the symbology and stuff on it. Start with those two. They're each 4 hours long, so get some popcorn. But yeah, that goes through all of this kind of stuff.
So why is the black sun on that page with the Egyptian?
Well, that obviously was my doing, and what I was trying to get across at the time was the whole concept of the equivalent of the Holy Trinity in the pagan world. So, for instance, in Egypt, you had Isis, Horus, and Set, or Isis, Horus, and Osiris until Set killed Osiris and Set took his place. So you have Papa God Set, Mama God Isis, and the son Horus. And there are equivalents in all these other pagan religions, Canaan, Greece, Rome, of the same kind of a structure of a mama god, a papa god, and a baby god who resides on earth. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but those existed in these pagan religions too.
What's with the Nazi boats?
Those two they're Viking runes, and they are symbolic of the sun.
They look like controlled demolition of two twin towers to me.
Oh wow.
Oh, well, wait a minute. That slide back here with the Jesuit thing on it. See that?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I made a really weird, I don't know if this is right, but I was having fun one day. And so there's the number 6 crops up a lot in my work. And obviously that might be related to 666 and all that stuff. Well, Q told us to look out for the Y symbol. No one ever figured out what that represented, as far as I ever saw. And they got close, because what it turns out, and I'm not going to go up to the slide that shows this, but this Y symbol is the 6th letter of the Phoenician alphabet. So I was playing around with, what if you take Y, turn it upside down, so you're turning a 6 upside down and it's a 9.
Well, you also got the carbon molecule. It has something to do with 6 too.
Yeah, carbon 12 has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. So
Yeah.
there's your 666. But I haven't really needed to work that into any of the stuff I'm working on, but other people have. But anyway, so I was playing around with, well, I was struck by Osiris's crown.
It does look a little 9/11-y.
Well, this crown is unique for the most part to Osiris. I mean, it's called the Atef crown, and Osiris is the one who is known for it. And I thought, gee, at least on this statue, that these look a lot like the Twin Towers, except for the curl at the top or whatever, but sort of just the way they look. And so I was playing around with one of the theories that I didn't like about 9/11 was people said, oh, it was a Masonic ceremony and the 2 towers represent Joachim and Boaz.
Man.
But
why you keep getting rid of that?
What?
I love that theory.
I just didn't like it.
Okay.
And here's why. Why would they want to destroy their own symbols?
But look at the new building. It's the 2 towers as one. It's a square on the bottom, square on the top, rotated 45 degrees. It's
Yeah,
two buildings in one. It's exactly that theory.
Yeah, it's a big obelisk.
A little bit. It's two become one.
Wait, go back to the.
Yeah, but why? I still struggle with why would they want to destroy their own symbols?
Out of order, out of chaos order.
I
It's a
don't know.
control mechanism.
Well, look at that Georgia Guidestone. They blew that up.
Yeah, but that might have been the good guys that blew that up.
Well, maybe the good guys blew up the World Trade Center.
So back to the statue with that one right there. That one right there with the lines. Well, the thing is, this just crossed my mind that I might be reaching, but skin for the body is one giant semiconductor. Gold is super conductive.
Good point.
And, Egyptians used to wear a lot of, gold. And some people think they were pulling energy out of the ether. Because that looks like an antenna to me.
What you're looking at Osiris?
That's interesting. Think of that can, Hang Ten.
Sure. Well, let me finish my little theory here, and then
Then I'm going to sleep after that.
So I thought, well, what if the symbolism of the two towers, or in this case, Osiris's crown phalanges, or whatever you want to call it, what if that's the 11, and then this Y upside down being a 9, and you have to go back to some other stuff I talked about, but that upside down Y is the Ben stone, and it's symbolic of their royal bloodline. So essentially 9/11, they're celebrating the Osiris myth of Set's victory over when he killed Osiris. So maybe 9/11 is a reenactment. Damn it, where'd that slide go? Is it above? Oh, it's above.
Nova says they were just early rappers wearing all that gold.
Yeah. Bling.
Yep.
Shit, where'd that slide? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so I thought, well, okay, so they're maybe 9/11 is them saying, we, our families, are taking out Osiris. Because remember, Osiris, and this is really freaking scary to me. Osiris was the god of life and the afterlife. And then when Set killed him, he couldn't really be the god of life anymore, but he stayed the god of the afterlife.
Right.
So what if their reenactment of the Osiris myth and killing Osiris is symbolic of them denying us life and or the afterlife.
Right.
And that gets into the transhumanism shit. It was really, really creepy stuff.
Hey, I just got a text message from Norm asking for the link.
I got to go to sleep.
Yeah, Norm, if you're out there in the chat, bro, we were just about to close out.
Oh, Norm, did you DM me? Let me check. I bet he DM'd me.
So I just stopped sharing. You guys got to see the owl on Set. That was the important part.
So the owl that was on that statue, was that supposed to represent the third eye?
You could interpret it that way. I've never even found anything that comments on it, which is strange. In fact, I didn't even notice it at first. I had grabbed a picture of that statue just to use in my presentation as a pretty good likeness of Set that wasn't a cartoon or something. It was an actual ancient statue of him. And when I was putting the slides together, all of a sudden it hit me. There's a freaking owl on his forehead. So anyway, also in that presentation, I make a case for Set perhaps being the inspiration for Satan.
Wait, do they even have owls in Egypt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. There's a word there's an Egyptian word for owl, and it is something very close to Moloch.
Oh
Except
wait, is
remember,
that the MLK thing that you mentioned earlier?
yeah. So they're all this MLK, Owl, Pharaoh, King, all this shit seems to be tied together. At least from what I found.
I'll say this much. I am glad that you called in, bro. Somehow we were able to turn this into an interesting conversation.
It wasn't interesting before.
No, I'm saying in general, overall.
Oh, all right. Well, glad I could help.
Yeah, because it would have been a little stagnant without you.
Well, what got me to call in was that you guys were talking about the East India Company. I was like, ooh, I got some material on that they should probably hear.
Ooh, I don't even know why I brought that up.
Yeah, I can't remember where we started that.
It was a Chinese opium thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Still unrelated to anything we were talking about.
I don't even remember how we even got on that conversation. We were talking about that road, I think.
Belton Road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would lead to it.
All right. I don't have much for a close, people.
Fair.
And we're already, what, 220
Yep.
just on the Jitsi link?
Uh-huh. It's a 3-hour show. Love it.
Yeah, I don't got nothing. But it won't happen next week. I'm not too certain about the week after, but at least we got the Esau and that part of the story coming up soon. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I want to hear about that one. That one's been
Because didn't God curse Esau in the womb?
Yeah, Jacob I loved, Esau I hated, or something like that.
yeah, he turned him into man bear pig.
Oh man. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. So
yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say that story I've struggled to see how that fits into any of my stuff. I really don't know what to make of it. So it'll be interesting to hear more about it.
Okay.
Dumpy.
Well, that's
Thaggy's
all I got.
causing trouble in the chat.
Was that Thaggy baiting Norm to call me Dumpy?
Probably.
Yeah.
Dumpy.
I don't have much of a close.
Me either.
Well, thanks for letting me throw some stuff out there at you.
You're a delight, Dumpy.
Yeah.
Your work is fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Definitely interesting. I will go on Ivanka's channel tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Remember, Yoda, remember those two that
Oh, I already wrote them down.
higher loyalty and bananas, right?
Right.
And you want the ones that have the big updated stamp in red on the cover image, because those were the first two shows that I did way back when, and then I did an improved version later, and you want the improved version.
Okay.
So it'll say updated.
Yeah, because lately, I try to find good stuff, good material. The only good one I actually came up with was the link that I sent to G. Ross earlier. And there was only one thing that I didn't quite agree with the guy about. But overall, I thought it was interesting.
Well,
And
that Moloch symbol, that was a good find. I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But what's weird is that you'd think the Ukrainian flag would be more subtle than that.
Right.
I mean, it was subtle when it hit me that it looked like a freaking diving falcon. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty subtle, but it works. But this Moloch symbol's like right there in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It really, dude. Because I wasn't really paying. A lot of times when I'm going over people talking about a thing, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm just listening. And 9 times out of 10, I'll be laying down in bed. You know what I mean? Not trying to go to sleep, but I got my fan on and I'm comfortable. especially if I've been having a hard time sleeping. And so when he was talking about it, and I was like, the Ukrainian flag, and I was like, I know what symbol he's talking about. So I rolled over and I'm looking at the picture, and I took a screenshot of it because I was like, oh, I gotta show this to you guys. You know what I mean? I almost forgot about it. Yeah, that's if you're not digging for stuff like that or looking at that kind of work, you're not gonna compare it. You're not gonna know. You know?
Well, and sometimes you just get a random brain fart that, like I did with the falcon and the Ukraine symbol.
All right,
that just came out of nowhere.
All right, I will get with you guys next week, unless you got to close, Duppy.
All right. Not really. Thanks for letting me talk. But Yoda, you said you were having trouble sleeping. I guarantee you that if you watch those videos, you won't.
Sometimes I fall asleep while they're being recorded.
That's right. You did that one time.
Yeah. G. Ross, what do you think? All right. I'll stop talking. You guys are awesome.
I'll remember to do the laptop next week so I can see the chat flying by.
Right on.
All right. Next week, people.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thanks, team.
Later.
Bye-bye. Let's do some housekeeping. First, we start the thingin' deal. Then let us release some Krakens. Speaking of the Titans killing their own selves and their dads and cutting off their dads' peepees, release the scratching. A shutdown clock. Yeah, I use the music as my unknown length of time shutdown clock. So I broke down the green screen, but I do still have to break down the mic. During that, let's go say hi to Sword of Michael. What do you say? Let's also say hi to Sloan TV. But first, let me thank the mods, Ankavanka. Let me thank the underscores, Hangton Alien Surfer. Earlier we saw Classical Chick. Let me thank co-host Black Yoda. Let me thank the guests, the call-ins, Duppy. Let me tell you what's coming up. Friday at 5:30 with Mr. Anderson, the Bread Pill Weekly. That's Texas time, 5:30 p.m. Sunday, 9 p.m. Texas time with Sloan TV and Revenge Odi Doichi, Armor Up, episode 10. And back here on Wednesday for the rest of chapter 24 with co-host Black Yoda, Wednesday at 11 p.m. Texas time. And with that, I bid you adieu. And I love you all. Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include The Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.